Tired of your car insurance rate going up, even with a clean driving record? You're not alone. That's why there's Jerry, your proactive insurance assistant. Jerry compares rates side by side from over 50 top insurers and helps you switch with ease. Jerry even tracks market rates and alerts you when it's best to shop. No spam calls, no hidden fees. Drivers who save with Jerry could save over $1,300 a year. Switch with confidence. Download the Jerry app or visit jerry.ai/Libsyn today. That's JERRY.ai/LIBSYN.
Hey listeners, this is Peter and welcome back to the History Shorts. Today's episode is brought to you by the Podcast Republic, your ultimate listening app. Discover and subscribe to thousands of podcasts from around the world. Download Podcast Republic today, available on Google Play and the Apple App Store. Today on History Shorts. If you had walked into a quiet farmhouse in upstate New York in 1848, you might have heard it. A knock, then another, then a pause, followed by a reply. One rap for yes, two for no. The voices, no visible hands. Just the sound of something or someone answering from beyond the wall. But America listened. And what began as a childish prank would soon explode into one of the most influential and, controversial movements of the 19th century. This is the story of the Fox sisters hoax and how two young girls convinced a grieving nation that the dead were speaking back. We'll finish with a history brief, which will look back at some of America's most obscure and weird museums. A quick word from our sponsors.
Support for the show comes from Public, the investing platform for those who take it seriously. On Public, you can build a multi-asset portfolio of stocks, bonds, options, crypto, and now generated assets, which allow you to turn any idea into an investable index with AI. It all starts with your prompt. From renewable energy companies with high free cash flow to semiconductor suppliers growing revenue over 20% year over year, you can literally type any prompt and put the AI to work. It screens thousands of stocks, builds a one-of-a-kind index, and lets you backtest it against the S&P 500. Then you can invest in a few clicks. Generated assets are like ETFs with infinite possibilities, completely customizable and based on your thesis, not someone else's. Go to public.com/podcast and earn an uncapped 1% bonus when you transfer your portfolio. That's public.com/podcast. Paid for by Public Investing. Brokerage services by Open to the Public Investing Inc. Member FINRA and SIPC. Advisory services by Public Advisors LLC, SEC registered advisor. Generated assets is an interactive analysis tool. Output is for informational purposes only and is not an investment recommendation or advice. Complete disclosures available at public.com/disclosures.
This day in history. February 29th only comes once every 4 years, but history has still found a way to mark it. On February 29th, 1940, actress Hattie McDaniel became the first African American to win an Academy Award, earning Best Supporting Actress for Gone with the Wind. On February 29th, 1504, Christopher Columbus used a predicted lunar eclipse to intimidate indigenous Jamaicans into supplying food for his stranded crew. Story of the day. Mid-19th century America was primed for ghosts. The country was changing fast. Industrialization was uprooting communities. Religious certainty was splintering. Death was everywhere, from epidemics to childbirth to war. Traditional churches no longer satisfied everyone's questions about the afterlife. People wanted proof. They wanted reassurance that death was not final, that loved ones were still nearby, watching, waiting. Into this moment stepped two sisters from a small town near Rochester, New York. They were Kate Fox and Margaret Fox, often called Maggie. Kate was just 11 years old. Margaret was 14. Their older sister, Leah Fox, would soon become their manager, promoter, and some would argue their exploiter. In March of 1848, the girls claimed that mysterious knocking sounds had begun inside their family home. They said the noises answered questions. They said it was a spirit, and they said it was the ghost of a murdered peddler. Neighbors came, then reporters, then believers, and the raps kept coming. The Fox sisters did not invent the belief in spirits, but in the mid 1800s, they transformed it into a movement. Soon, public seances replaced private parlors. Mediums multiplied. Kate and Margaret toured, performing seances for packed audiences. People paid to hear ghosts knock, and the sisters became celebrities. For many women, spiritualism was radical. It allowed women to speak publicly, to command authority, to lead religious gatherings. In a society that denied women pulpits and political power, spirits gave them a voice. And the Fox sisters stood at the center of it all. The knocking sounds were the key. Audiences swore they came from walls, floors, furniture, places that no human could reach. But skeptics suspected otherwise. Doctors examined the sisters. Committees observed the seances under controlled conditions. Some investigators noticed something strange. The sounds followed the girls, and sometimes they seemed to come from them themselves. Years later, the truth would emerge. The raps were produced by cracking joints, toes, knees, ankles, amplified by wooden floors and attentive silence. A simple trick, really, but performed with extraordinary timing. As the movement grew, so did the pressure. Leah Fox took control of her sisters' careers. Money flowed in, and so did the expectations. The girls were expected to perform, nightly, endlessly, before skeptical crowds and desperate mourners. Kate struggled with alcoholism. Margaret grew bitter. They were no longer children, they were products, and the ghosts would not let them rest. By the 1850s and 1860s, skepticism was growing. Magicians debunked seances. Scientists dismissed spirit communication as fraud or self deception. Even within spiritualist circles, whispers spread. Had the movement been built on a lie? Margaret, in particular, grew disillusioned. She resented her sister Leah. She resented the believers. And she resented the role that she had been forced to play. And eventually, she broke. In 1888, Margaret Fox stood before a packed audience in New York City and told the truth. There was no spirits, no murdered peddler, no voices from the dead. It had all begun as a prank, a childish joke that spiraled out of control. On stage, Margaret demonstrated the method of snapping her toe joints to produce the familiar rapping sounds. She later wrote, "My sister Katie and myself were very young children when this horrible deception began. It was one of the most dramatic public confessions of the 19th century. The foundation of modern American spiritualism had cracked." But here's the strange part. Spiritualism did not die. Many believers dismissed the confession as coercion. Others claimed Margaret had recanted under pressure. Some argued that spirits had once been real, even if the sisters later faked it. Faith, once ignited, is hard to extinguish. The Fox sisters did not end their lives as triumphant fraudsters, however. Kate died in poverty, and Margaret died estranged and exhausted. Leah remained a believer, or at least a defender of the movement that she helped build. The story is not just about deception, it's about children swept up by adult belief, about grief searching for answers, about society eager to believe, even when the evidence faltered. The Fox sisters' hoax succeeded primarily because it answered a need for meaning, a need for comfort, a need to believe death was not the end. Spiritualism flourished, especially among those who had lost children, and then again after the Civil War, among families drowning in grief. The Fox sisters did not create that pain, they merely offered it a voice. The History Brief: America's Weird Museums. Today we're taking a detour off the well-paved road of the Smithsonian or the Met and heading into the wonderfully strange world of America's most obscure museums. Because across the United States, tucked into strip malls, old houses, and former factories, are institutions dedicated to things you never knew deserved a museum. Until now, that is. I should mention that this is just a sampling. I got lost scrolling through web pages and lists online, and actually marking my own calendar for some of these that I would be curious to visit. But anyway, this is just that, a sampling. So, in Los Angeles, there is the Museum of Death, a place devoted to society's fascination with mortality. Its exhibits explore everything from historic executions to infamous crimes, forcing visitors to confront death not as a spectacle, but as an uncomfortable constant of human history. Now, travel east to Massachusetts, and you'll find the International Banana Museum, home to tens of thousands of banana themed objects: banana phones, banana lamps, banana records. I know it sounds silly, but it's also a reminder that everyday objects, even fruit, can become cultural icons. Then there is Wisconsin's National Mustard Museum, where shelves are lined with thousands of mustards from around the world. What began as a personal obsession became a global archive of taste, packaging, and culinary history, proving that even condiments tell stories. Some museums are strangers still. In Kentucky, the Vent Haven Museum is dedicated entirely to ventriloquism. Hundreds of dummies, each with frozen expressions and unsettling personalities, documenting a once dominant form of American entertainment. In Arizona, the Mini Time Machine Museum of Miniatures shrinks history down to dollhouse scale with painstakingly detailed rooms that capture centuries of daily life in miniature. It certainly seems like what all of these places have in common isn't really shock value, but passion. They exist because someone, somewhere, believed a niche obsession was worth preserving, and in doing so, they captured pieces of American curiosity, humor, and identity that big museums often overlook. Again, this is just a nice reminder that history isn't just wars and presidents. Apparently, it's also bananas, mustard, puppets, and the odd things we choose to remember. Thank you so much for spending some time with me today and helping make this little show such a mighty success. If you are enjoying the show and would like to help with its production, you can always donate a few dollars at buymeacoffee.com or become a Patreon member to enjoy these episodes ad-free. Both links can be found on our website at www.historyshortspodcast.com. Have a great rest of your day, and I will talk to you all again tomorrow.